Well, guys, the time has come. The first taste of the new Zach Bryan sound. If you've been here from the beginning, and I know a lot of people on this channel have, we have watched Zach Bryan go from this guy that was just posting videos on Twitter of songs like Condemned to becoming a viral phenomenon, to then recording an album in a little makeshift plywood barn with his friends, to then working with Dave Cobb and debuting on the Opry and scoring a record deal, and now he is getting to release a debut full studio album. And we finally got our first song from it, and so I just want to talk about it. And actually, I think I'm just going to turn this video into a whole little thing of people who are suddenly back, because there's a bunch of artists that have just returned after some time away. Click around if one of them is more interesting to you than all the others, but let's get right to the point and talk about Zach Bryan. So Zach Bryan recently announced that he has a new album on the way in May called American Heartbreak. And before I even talk about his new song, I just got to give a shout out to the freaking beauty of this album cover. I feel like it feels instantly iconic to me. The kind of like grainy photo, the title, it just has like a gravitas and a playfulness about it. It kind of fits this Jack Kerouac traveling America mixed with like his messed up kid. It's just a beautiful image to me. And I actually met the guy that shot it, Lou, at a Charles Wesley Godwin show. He was filming with like a camcorder, and he was a very nice man. And although we've been getting teases of a song called Something in the Orange, the first track that we've officially been given from American Heartbreak is called From Austin.
About time that I left Austin, about time you settled down.
And man, there's just so much that I feel like I want to talk about with this song. First off, it's produced by Ryan Hadlock. Now, this is not the same guy, Eddie Spear, that produced his Quiet Heavy Dreams EP. Ryan is actually a guy most known for working with the Lumineers on their big breakout album that had like Stubborn Love and Ho Hey, as well as Brandi Carlile's The Fire Watcher's Daughter. And man, it just makes so much sense to me that Zach would want to work with like this OG Lumineers producer. That's smart to me, and I love the sound of this song. It's got a bassiness in it that's very exciting. It's got horns that even come in at the end, and he even lets Zach's voice kind of like crack.
It's about time that I left Austin, about time you settled down.
You know, where it always does when we've seen those live videos of him. And it's just got that driving like thing that kind of made, I think, that era of early Lumineers, early Mumford, that kind of like exciting, really dynamic sound. So I'm thrilled to see it here. Lyrically, this song is about him getting out of Austin, leaving this girl behind because of some kind of sickness within himself. He describes it that way, in this kind of very in keeping with that hard on himself, I'm condemned nature. And he kind of references that traveler within him. He says, it's about time you settled down with a guy that doesn't move as quick as the trains that go through town. And it's like there's something in him that needs to be on the go, or maybe even on the run. He describes this wish for concrete shoes, something heavy enough to keep him in one place, but everyone he's ever loved has either left or died, and so maybe he's following through with that. And all through the song, there's this kind of floating and sinking metaphor. He says, if love was an ocean, I would drown before I'd float. And all the while he's saying stuff like, people ruin people, I don't want to ruin you. He talks about like, how much can a Southern girl really endure? There's that feeling through the song that makes his music so compelling of just, like, I'm too much to handle.
You're a little much for me.
And I think at times listening to Zach Bryan, I've kind of jokingly referred to like, oh, this is sad boy music, but that's probably a little bit reductive to what it is, which is just shame. It's someone being honest about that shame that's inside of all of us. And I think with a song like this and a title like American Heartbreak, and you know, Zach recently said he's taken Elizabeth off of Spotify because it's not his story to tell. It seems that we are getting a maybe tragic end of relationship kind of album here. I mean, doesn't take a genius to figure that out. It's called American Heartbreak. And so in that way, it feels like this might be like a pretty big departure from some of the themes on that album, Elizabeth. And I think what's cool about that song is it just feels to me like Zach Bryan's career has been timed so well. Just kind of everything's happened when it should. And that's sort of what I've always said. When people were annoyed that the production on Elizabeth wasn't, you know, professional, I was like, well, he made it with his friends. He's still active in the Navy. And yet to watch the touring scale up, to watch the level of production scale up, to watch the kind of seriousness with which he is taking his career scale up, to me it's so exciting as a fan. to have been there at that kind of beginning stage, and then to watch someone fully realize the power that they have and the kind of levers that they can pull, and to let the industry really work with them and augment that. It's cool, and very few people pull that off. A lot of people have some potential and they sign up with some bigger, powerful, more label-y force than them, and boom, they have all this money at their disposal, and yet it doesn't click, and they lose their confidence, and it just, it doesn't ramp up the way you want it to. And I admire from afar just the way he has made this takeoff happen. It's like something I haven't really been able to achieve on my YouTube channel. I haven't been able to time that right. And so when I watch people, even people doing something very different, like what he's doing, accomplish it, it's cool. Anyway, I'm into the song. I'm into this album cover. I can't wait to hear more. And let me know what you think about it. Another guy who's back is Jon Pardi, and he's got this song, Last Night Lonely.
Yeah, you could be the last phone number I write down on a napkin.
Y'all know I love Jon Pardi. Heartache Medication was my #1 country album of all of 2019. And I love him because he's this perfect representative of what I think actual healthy evolution of country is. People love to throw around the phrase, country music needs to evolve. And what they really mean is, I like pop music. Because I think evolution actually happens kind of slowly. It actually has one foot in the past, and it kind of twists something and makes it a little bit new. It doesn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And that's what makes Jon Pardi's music actually so exciting to me is, yeah, he might put on like a tracked drum over top of a whole foundation of fiddle and steel, and it kind of works. He's not just working with some Swedish producer that couldn't get a cut on the last One Direction album, so they sold the track to a producer in Nashville. So I was super excited to see that he is still working with Bart Butler on his upcoming music. That's who produced his last album, but he's also listed as a producer here, and I know from some of Dylan Carmichael's album that Jon Pardi knows how to produce.
It could be your last night coming in here drinking all by yourself.
This song to me is fine lyrically and great musically. It's not the most interesting lyric in the world. It's kind of like Single Saturday Night by Cole Swindell. Whereas he says this could be your last single Saturday night, Jon Pardi is saying this could be your last night lonely. And the whole song is playing with that idea of last. This could be like the last drink you have to have by yourself. This could be the last, time you're going out with your friends. It could be your last night lonely because obviously, we found each other. But tell me what other mainstream star is putting as aggressive of a fiddle lick right at the front of their song, punctuating the end of every chorus as... Imagine like if a fiddle were making that noise. He's so willing to do that on Ain't Always the Cowboy, on Heartache Medication. He really has been this champion of the fiddle. And I know, like, in some ways it's kind of true that just if a fiddle is on a song, I probably am quite amenable to it. But there isn't anyone in the mainstream that is just putting it as front and center as Jon Pardi. And I think that's cool. And the way it kind of like... kind of flows into the electric guitar on this song, plus you've got that back bed of steel, is really cool. I think Jon also, he seems to be singing a little bit lower in his register, a little less through the nose, more through like the throat and mouth on this song, and it's just a vocal change I noticed. Some people find his voice super polarizing. I don't, but I've always liked it just fine, but that's just a change I noticed as well. But man, musically, I think this song is cool. I like the kind of percussive elements in it. I think it all just works. And, I think probably, honestly, Tequila Little Time didn't race up the charts the way that maybe I would have wanted it to, because as we know, it's like one of the greatest songs of our lifetime. But this seems like maybe a safe bet to shore up like a strong relationship with radio and launch a new single. I like this Jon Pardi song too. I'm pumped he's back. I can't wait to see what's in store on the new album. He just announced a tour and he's taken out Lainey Wilson and Hailey Whitters. I mean, that's a banging tour. Hailey Whitters, Lainey, and Jon Pardi, hell yeah. I'm excited about it. I also like this. I'm in a good mood.
Before I knew it, I was holding on the doors, holding your hand.
Hey, editor Grady here. I don't know what happened to all my footage on Mr. Mason Ramsey, but all I was really saying is that the Yodel Boy is back because his song Before I Knew It has been super viral on TikTok. It looks like he is now working at a Subway, but it's nice that he got to be a kid for a few years, and some of the footage got saved, so here's that part. Because that song was actually written by Jon Pardi, Tyler Hubbard from Florida Georgia Line, and Corey Crowder, and so just a funny little connection there. I'm glad the Twang EP is getting what it deserves because it actually delivered on the promise of a young kid that liked yodeling, that had the name Lil Hank Williams, and what it might sound like if he wanted to make country music. Like, it was kind of pop country and fun, but I mean, it was so much better and countryer and funnier than that first slapped together EP where he was singing Famous. Then I want to talk about someone that I haven't mentioned on the channel in a long time, and that's Miss Jana Kramer. I don't know if you guys have these celebrities in your life that you just kind of root for, and you're not even really sure where this affection comes from, but you just root for them. That's kind of how I am with Jana Kramer. I think there is something that is annoying to me about the fact that she has only had 2 big hits, and not 3. I feel like things should come in 3s. She had Why You Wanna.
Why you wanna show up in a old t-shirt that I love?
Then she had I Got the Boy.
I got the boy, and she got the man.
And those are both pretty good songs. Why You Wanna is kind of poppy, but it was this random breakout from a former One Tree Hill actress that pivoted into country music. But then I was surprised by the quality of I Got the Boy. I thought that was a smart lyric. I thought that song was so country. And I was like, damn, Jana, are you kind of coming through and ready to have a country career? But then they released Said No One Ever.
Sucks to be rich, said no one ever. Oh, I love politics, said no one ever.
And it was just not good. And then the follow-ups just weren't that good. But she's scrappy, you know? She kind of had her stint on Dancing with the Stars. That didn't really relaunch her. She started a podcast with her husband, who kind of was a notorious cheater, this guy Mike Cawson, and they were very open. I remember I even listened to a couple of those episodes when there was kind of, they were openly fighting while recording their podcast, and I was like, damn, they're honest with each other. This is like awkward. I feel voyeuristic almost listening, but that's what was interesting. But Jana Kramer, as of right now, is currently sitting with the #1 song on iTunes after dropping a song called The Story about leaving Mike Cawson.
Once upon a time you loved me. Once upon a time I loved.
This is a song she wrote with Emily Shackleton James and Sarah Bryce, and it is about inviting her kids up onto the bed so she can tell them a story, the story of how she left their father. It's very unique. I can't say I've actually heard a song about a parent telling their kids about a divorce, but it's kind of wrapped up in this like fairy tale language. She starts the chorus with "Once upon a time he loved me," and so it kind of carries that story motif through. The lyrics are pretty broad. You know, you're not getting any specific details of the name of another woman or a bar downtown or some place where they once vacationed. But I appreciate the language motifs of the once upons, of the pages, you know, the fairy tale. All those words are mentioned that kind of give the feeling of storybook. And obviously the hook of this song is she's telling them the story I wish I didn't have to tell. And she's thinking about how her kids deserve a complete family and how they don't have that right now. So there's kind of guilt wrapped up in it, along with this like kind of final chorus of hope.
Once upon a time it was us 3 starting over.
I don't know, it's just an unusual song. I mean, it's pretty simple. You got some strings in the background, some piano. There's not a lot happening, and a very simple, plaintive vocal. I wish that in the very climax of the song, it was a cleaner vocal take. I feel like I wanted a bigger belting moment, but I think they kind of went for more of a cry. But it's still like an interesting song that I think is going to resonate with a lot of people. And I'm kind of, you know, I feel bad. Well, I shouldn't feel bad like capitalizing on her tragedy. She's doing that. You know, she's the one that released this song. But I think like that's what artists do sometimes. They turn their pain into art. And it would be cool to me if Jana kind of comes back around and gets that unlikely hat trick of 3 hits. That didn't really work, but it would just be interesting. You know, you guys know me well enough to know that I love someone that just stays at it. And Jana, I think, is an example of that. And to me, this is like, you know, a great song. It's way better than Said No One Ever. So I don't know if maybe doing that podcast and being so honest with the whole world about kind of infidelity in your relationship and forgiveness and all that stuff kind of unlocked her. But It kind of feels like it did. And then the last person I just wanted to touch on is Orville Peck. I know Orville has 4 songs out from his upcoming album Bronco, but I've only heard kind of the main single, Come On Baby Cry. And it sounds cool. I mean, I think that Orville, for all of his cool aesthetics and the way he has generated just massive amounts of curiosity and attention by being this masked, fringed cowboy. The one thing that I haven't really ever loved are just the melodies. He's got a cool voice. He's got a very cool style. He's so unusual within the country world. He's obviously singing about men, not women. You know, he stands out for a lot of reasons, but it's the melody has I've never had one where I'm like, that just sticks in my head. But I feel like Come On Baby Cry actually does accomplish that.
I don't want you to be afraid.
It's such a sing-alongable, well, it's not sing-alongable. It is such a memorable melody that you want to try to sing along to, but it kind of goes way up into the falsetto and comes way down, and it's very exciting. Sonically, it still reminds me a lot of Roy Orbison. It kind of takes me into the 60s, 70s. It's got that kind of country politan polish behind it. So I think it's a pretty cool song. His voice sounds awesome on it. There's a lot happening, and yeah, he's back. And I know that one was short, but I gotta hit the road, get this edited, get it posted, and yeah, those are just some people that are back around that I wanted to mention. Let me know your thoughts on some of that music, and that's it. Later.